Bah, j'essaierai alors.
First of all, I'm very interested in the names of your characters and their mythological references to it, of course. Ariane, the girl in the labyrinth, and Arthur, the knight, the righteous one. How many insights did you have beforehand with the meaning of those names in the story?
That's funny. I didn't put Arthur together with King Arthur at all until right now. That's funny. No, hey, thank you.
Do you agree?
I don't know. I mean, I would say that if there's the knight in shining armor, it's more the Leonardo DiCaprio character. I mean, and Arthur in this movie is, you know, he's the point man. He's the one that realizes the vision of Leo's character, the leader, the chief, the artist. And it's true that that Arthur does, you know, have to go to battle and do some incredible fights. Yeah, so that's a good comparison.
Okay. And you, Hélène?
Yeah, I talked a little bit with Chris about it because I'm going to be perfectly honest. When I saw the name Ariadne, I was like, oh, that's a really unique name, and I wasn't really aware of the mythical origin of that name. But I talked a bit about it with Chris, and of course he got some inspiration from that. But it wasn't particularly where I went to draw some inspiration for that character.
Okay, and since your character is kind of a way to ease the audience into the complexity of the story, there's a lot on your shoulder on the scene in Paris. How did you approach that?
I approached it as, well, what I think I love about Ariadne is just her intelligence and this innate intellectual curiosity, which Chris and I talked about, and the idea that her mind is just always running and she's just kind of thirsty for the ability to create, and is clearly quite an accomplished architectural student. And thus, it's pretty natural for her that when being exposed to this new possibility of the human mind, she is massively curious and falls into this world, and of course has a plethora of questions, and because she's the new member of the team, does need things explained, and thus, yes, I think she does aids as a bit of an assistant to the audience to keep them up to date without having to get too without having to, you know, spoon feed with information.
Okay. Since I'm kind of a big geek, and I must confess that your fight sequence was a great time for me in the movie. I've seen you the Saturday Night Live that you've done,
oh, yeah.
Where you began with Singing in the Rain impression. Now that you're doing Fred Astaire in this one, I'm kind of wondering, do you want to get all the great musical numbers?
That's funny. In fact, I did that Saturday Night Live right after completing shooting of Inception. I think that was part of what emboldened me to do something so stupid on live television. But it's funny, you compare the scenes to that Fred Astaire dance number. I thought of an analogy between the dreamy gravity scenes in Inception and that Fred Astaire number, and that's that both Sesame Street and Star Wars use the same technique of Jim Henson puppetry, but they use the technique to very different effects. And I think the same thing applies, that Fred Astaire musical is, you know, they built a room that rotated, but Christopher Nolan built an entire corridor the size of a city block that rotated and had a fight scene in it, and it's just, you know, similar technology, very different effect.
And was it fun, really, to do?
Man, it was so much fun. I mean, it was also about as hard as anything I've done physically. The stunt team was very cool and brought me in and taught me a lot and pushed me very hard. But and at the end of the days, I might have been, you know, sweaty and a little banged up, but it was like the fantasy of a little kid, man. It was so much fun, and there was so much adrenaline. I'll never forget it.
I'm interested in the names of your characters first, Fisher and Eames.